you know, again, the class thing interests me, and I appreciate all the work that is done. But as you're mentored in anti-racist understanding and ideology, and particularly what the Institute does that's totally unique, I think, is you add the organizing piece. You come, when you're like myself, you come to understand that there are millions of poor whites in this country. I remember Diana Dunn saying to me one time, she's a trainer and one of the founders of the Institute with Jim and Ron and Barbara and others, and she will say, you know, there are millions of white people in this country who are poor. She said that to me, you know, and I said, well, you know, Diana, I know that. I got an analysis. I teach this. She said, no, that's not what I'm saying. She says, but not one of us is poor because we're white. I thought, oh, damn, that's deep, you know. I said, that's true. I'm poor for a whole lot of reasons. There are all sorts of things that can happen to me. I'm sometimes the object of discrimination, but never on the basis of race. I might be because I don't have the right credentials, or somebody might be prejudicial against short men, or whatever it might be. But the society doesn't work against me. It works for me. And that's why we'll hedge our bets. That's why the working class white, who for centuries has internalized a certain message, when asked to join black, brown, and red brethren or sisterin, will hesitate, might not know what that voice is. What that voice is saying, wait a minute now. If you go too far, you're going to lose that which is the reason why you have advantage in the first place. You got to understand that what white has going for you. And all white people know this. Some of us are guilty and beat ourselves over it. Some of us will deny it and say, well, I don't see myself as white. And we always joke and say, well, you better, because everybody else does. You know, or we'll say, I don't see color. You say all sorts of things. And those are genuine, very human expressions. But in fact, it doesn't help. It hurts. When the whole world sees you a certain way, but you're in denial, you get out of touch with reality. And were it not for the white supremacist culture that we live in, I'm not making an ideological statement with that. It is. That doesn't mean the same as the Klan, or it just means that the culture is dominated in how white people think. You don't have to be white, but you're still dealing in white culture. So I have what I have because of my relationship to this sanctioned systems. I got to understand that. That does not mean that I can't fight racism, that I can't be against oppression, that I can't speak on this. I can speak on it if I'm organizing. So if you're not organizing, someone can challenge you and say, why do you go around speaking around this? Shouldn't somebody else? I get asked that all the time, because they say, well, how do you do this workshop? And I have to struggle with that. But what I say ultimately is that if I'm organizing with other whites, that I'm organizing in coalitions of accountability to people of color, to deny our voice and say you shouldn't speak out is to keep everything the way it is. And the president, and I'll say this last thing, he's the only person in this country who can't speak about race. The rest of us confused folk can just talk whatever we want to. But if Obama mentions race, oh man, the talk radio, the Fox News will have a field day on it. That's power.
Here, I have one more question I